Okay, thank you, Professor Kim. And good morning, everyone. My name is Dong-Hoon Jang from Samsung Corporate Design Center. It is my great pleasure to be here this morning in Seoul, Korea, one of the world's most dynamic and innovative cities, where all different advanced disciplines are actively engaged, including design, computer science, human factors, artificial intelligence, and many more. The perfect place to discuss this year's theme, Crossings. For the last 8 years, I've been leading the product and interface design initiative for Samsung mobile devices. And more recently, I've been focusing on the UX design for upcoming new IoT products and services, which is why this morning I'll be sharing with you my perspective on the role of UX design in the era of the Internet of Things. As you know, everybody's talking about IoT these days, and so are we. According to Gartner, as many as 25 billion devices will be connected to the Internet by 2020. In a future like this, people will have a whole new level of experience. What IoT brings to you will depend a great deal on what you bring to the field in terms of technology, business, relevant social system, and policy framework. This morning, let's look at the subject from a UX design perspective and think about what we can do to make our lives easier, richer, and more convenient in the IoT environment. To start with, I am going to talk about the Korean dining table, especially the royal dining table during the time of Joseon Dynasty in Korea, which was provided with the best possible care and the most careful consideration for the royals. After all, consumers are like kings these days, and the ultimate goal of IoT services are to provide optimized concierge services to individuals. It's been an amazing 2 days here at KAI. Have you tried Korean food yet? Yeah, what did you have dinner yesterday? Did you come across anything interesting? Perhaps you might be surprised by all those wonderful side dishes. Korean side dishes are arranged according to the recipes, ingredients, colors, and temperature of the main dishes with emphasis on balance. Meals prepared for the kings during the time of the Joseon Dynasty are called sura. And the table set with sura is called surasang, a royal dining table in Korean. Things back then were not that different from today. Only a few more systematic rules and integrated care to drive true engagement with the kings. The kings usually had 5 meals a day. Although not all of them were sura, surasang was served only twice a day, at 10 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. A light snack was served between meals. And even the smallest details were taken care of during the food preparation. For example, spoons and chopsticks were carefully placed 3 centimeters from the table's edge so that it would be easier for the king to pick them up during meals. Even the placement of dishes were carefully thought out. Items were consumed more frequently, like hot soups, were served on the right and placed closer to king, and salty and dried side dishes were served on the far left of the table to eat less. And there were usually 3 court ladies to wait on table at every meal, explaining the menu of the day and serving them at their best. As you can see from the image, greater planning, coordination, and intimately connected service were all considered when preparing the king's meals. During the food preparation process, the first court lady consulted with the physicians of the royal family and the head chef from the royal kitchen to prepare the meals, considering seasonal changes, weather conditions, the king's health, and his daily routine. With the success of Korean soap opera 대장금, first aired in 2003, and then exported to as many as 90 countries around the world, the popularity of Korean dishes has been on the rise since then. Let's take a look at one scene from the movie and think about what the most important thing is when designing UX in the IoT era.
괜찮다. 말해보거라.
수락관 최고 상공이 되고 싶습니다. 마마님, 어쩌면 빨리 수락관 최고 상공이 될 수 있습니까?
마실 물을 떠오너라. 마실 물을 떠와.
마마님.
다시 떠오너라. 꼭 말을 2번씩 해야 하느냐?
예.
내일 아침에 일어나면 다시 떠오너라.
어찌나 자꾸 물을 떠오라 하십니까? 따뜻한 물도 안 되고 찬물도 안 되고 나뭇잎을 띄워도 안 되고.
너는 이미 알고 있느니라. 어찌하여 흑비를 끓였더냐?
어머니께서 그리하시는 것을 보았기에.
어머니께서는 왜 그리하셨느냐?
혹 제가 어디 아플까 염려하시오. 아!
물을 떠오겠느냐?
혹 아랫배가 아프시진 않으신지요?
아니다.
혹 오늘 변은 보셨는지요?
보았다.
혹 목이 아프지는 않으신가요?
원래 목은 자주 아프구나.
따뜻한 물에 소금을 아주 조금 넣었습니다. 한 번에 들이키지 마시고 차처럼 천천히 드세요.
그래, 고맙다. 어머니께서 물 한 사발 주시면서도 그리 많은 것을 물어보시더냐.
예, 아랫배는 차지 않은지 목은 아프지 않은지 꼬치꼬치 물으시고는 찬물을 주기도 하시고 따뜻한 물을 주기도 하시고 단물을 주기도 하셨습니다.
그래, 바로 꼬치꼬치 묻는 것. 그게 내가 너에게 물을 떠오라 한 뜻이다. 음식을 하기 전 먹을 사람의 몸 상태와 좋아하는 것, 싫어하는 것, 받는 것과 받지 않는 것, 그 모든 것을 생각하는 것, 그게 음식을 짓는 마음임을 얘기하고 싶었다.
How's that? Even when you serve a bowl of water, you need to think about one's well-being first. When you design UX in the IoT era, the most important thing is how well you understand what users think, feel, want, and know. Having serious thought and careful consideration on user value. To bring thoughtfulness to users and make their lives richer, we need to consider the following 3 principles. Empathic interface between people and devices, balance of privacy and security that is built on trust, and concerns for underprivileged. So first, empathic interface. When people talk about IoT, the following things may pop into their heads. The thermostat, door locks, lights, and fridges. Those things are capable of connecting to the internet and can automatically and contextually be controlled by a smartphone. But then, as the market continues to grow, you can control everything with a small screen device. Things can get a bit out of hand. Then, what will the interface of tomorrow be like? The characteristic value of UX design in the IoT era will be a lot different from the computer-human interaction we have experienced so far. As there's a lot of information available from smart things, providing necessary functions and quality services that meet the needs of people in an efficient, timely, and easy-to-use manner will be key factor here. If you leave all the decisions up to individuals, what you probably get is an interface like this. For every 1 degree, you lower the thermostat. You can solve underlying problems, even with the new technologies like natural interfaces, including voice, face, gesture recognition, or 3D, or virtual reality. Therefore, ambient technologies and intelligent automated systems are integrated into our daily environment and have attached considerable attention. Let's take a look at the video from YouTube that shows the concept of the ambient intelligent automation. As you can see, users don't need to control anything from their tiny devices, as the things around them integrated with almost ambient technologies and intelligent automated systems will automatically recognize the users and provide optimized services for them. Autonomous and personalized services can be very convenient, but on the other hand, they can be scary or even creepy. IoT is not about getting people to change the way they act or think with the new technology. It's about designing convenient functions that can integrate with people's thoughts and behaviors in a natural manner. It's not about a system that says, I know what's best for you, but more of a system that constantly interacts with you, therefore understands you, and evolves together with you. Now, you are looking at a scene from the latest Disney movie called Big Hero 6. This robot can assess the boy's health with a body scan. And the robot already knows what's wrong with him. But instead of just scanning him, it communicates and interacts with the boy in a friendly way. As you can see, taking this approach, you can better understand what others need and can develop empathy throughout the process. Now, this brings me back to the similar pattern on the royal dining table. After the king finished his meal, the head chef from the royal kitchen and the court ladies studied the remaining food left on the table and carefully checked what the king ate the most and what he didn't like, so that they could understand the king's eating habit and provide him with the best possible care. During the 500 years of the Joseon dynasty, there were 27 kings all with different appetites. The first king of the Joseon dynasty, who creates Korean alphabet Hangul, was Sejong the Great, and his appetite for meat was quite famous. He even got angry when there was no meat at the table. Since he was diabetic, instead of serving him beef or pork, the chef served him with high-protein lamb. Just like this, it's important for us to understand the user context and to keep communicating with the user. Furthermore, we should consider user sentiments and provide users with choices and a sense of control. Developing empathy is one of the most important steps to successful UX design. We will find a similar intention in the car industry. Most luxury vehicles these days come with a different driving mode like Eco, Normal, and Sport, allowing drivers to choose the level of performance they want. The royal table were prepared with perfect settings based on information collected from many different fields. But there were always two types of cooked rice and soups at the end to give the king a choice. Lastly, giving proper feedback on every aspect of a task is important as well. You are now looking at the image of the virtual flame of Samsung's induction chef collection range. Its distinctive blue LED light reflects against the cookware to imitate the appearance of the gas flames and provides a safety-oriented visual indicator to users. It's a good example of showcasing the concept of perceptive feedback. The convenience and efficiency value proposition for IoT devices should be built on a true understanding of and empathy for users, because this is the only way to provide meaningful experiences. To have seamless communication and build up empathy, user interface should be designed accordingly. The second part of the topic is about trustworthy services, which can be provided through the right balance of security and privacy. Not long ago, it was reported that a large-scale spam attack was disclosed by custom authorities in Russia. They found spy chips in electronic ions and kettles. Nobody would have expected that spy chips could actually be planted in the electronic ions and kettles. Compared to previous hacking incidents, where the target device usually remained within mobile categories like PCs, smartphones, and tablets, now home appliances such as a refrigerator and electric fans will be tempting target for cyber attacks as the Internet of Things grows. There have already been recorded instances of home appliances being exploited by hackers. Earlier this year, security sub-vendor Proofpoint uncovered a series of worldwide hacking attacks which used everyday consumer gadgets to send more than 7,500,000 spam and phishing emails across the web. As the number of such connected devices is expected to grow, from robotic vacuum cleaners to autonomous cars, there's also great risk of having Internet of Things-based attacks. Now let's get back to the royal story. The king must have had many enemies and faced assassination attempts with life-threatening poison. Assassination plots were often carried out by slipping poison into a king's food rather than trying to get through the heavily guarded compound in the palace. These stories were so popular, they were adapted to the subject on films. That's why the kings always had someone who tastes his food beforehand to check if it wasn't poison. It's impossible to have a perfect and flawless world unless we live in heaven. One of the most important roles in UX design is to create systematic components that play a critical role in building up trust, eventually leading to enhanced security measures. So, now let's examine the issue of privacy from the perspective of the kings. The reason I'm able to recount such detailed stories of the kings from Joseon dynasty is because we have detailed record documenting the king's activities. How, you might ask? Well, back then, there were 2 scribes following the kings during his every waking moment and recorded every word and action from the king. In order to ensure accuracy, the king and future monarchs were not allowed to tamper with the records, even if the king told the scribes not to record every single details of his life. Some of these scribes followed the king around everywhere he went, even to the toilet. So here's a funny scene from the movie.
야, 너 저기 안 나가고 뭐 하느냐? 나가라니까. 야, 나 똥 살라니까 나가라고 빨리.
경아드리옵니다.
Funny, isn't it? Yeah, despite the best of intentions, the risk of having a privacy breach have become even more evident in the IoT era. So what can we do is the burden on user privacy. You can hardly find cars without in-vehicle data recorders these days. Those recorders record everything you do in vehicle and your surroundings and send that data to cloud servers. It seems like there's no such thing as privacy anymore. But then, why do people keep using the device? Because it is used to monitor and provide proper feedback to drivers on the road, and it can affect your auto insurance policy at the end. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, in the United States has developed a program called the TSA PreCheck, which allows millions of travelers to experience expedited airport security screening. The program has also raised privacy concerns. People who have enjoyed the expedited screening are willing to provide their personal information, but many people are still reluctant to give up their personal data. There are still many unanswered questions concerning people's attitude towards information privacy. Ultimately, understanding the role of IoT and how it can enhance value and deliver results when providing the service will be the key consideration in designing UX and services. When you search for famous restaurant online using applications that track your location information, I'm sure you may have felt some hesitation in accepting their terms and conditions. We often agree to these terms so we can use their services. But the problem is, while the app's privacy policy collects the user data, it doesn't want users that it routinely tracks users' location and shares the information with the third parties without their consent. Another way to approach privacy concern is to provide transparency in the information flow. Many people are still wondering if their information was being misused or abused after they agreed to the services. It's technically difficult to demonstrate the information transparency to the users, but with a few simple steps, you can reassure them and give them peace of mind. Just like the online privacy shield app, My Permission, providing a useful service that allows users to check control and cleaned up application across web and mobile that have access to their information would be a good example to start with. Facing the IoT era, a new community culture is now forming based on the shared information. Uber is a mobile application service that links self-employed drivers to customers without the hassle of finding a cab, and with payment automatically charged to the customer's credit card. The business model allows you to share your information and services, turning private goods into public goods. We call it sharing economy, and you are required to uphold the reputation of your service for this kind of network business model, in addition to the value and transparency of the service. Airbnb is one of the best-known examples of this phenomenon. It's another internet-based service that allows people to rent out spare rooms, facilitating the use of underutilized resources. The nature of the business requires a delicate balance of transparency and reputation. Airbnb users need to share their personal information to build a unique user profile on the website, and are required to go through social networks for sign-up. If the information shared is not as transparent as it should be, then you are not allowed it to be in the community. Another important factor of the service includes details such as user preview and a merit system that allows guests and hosts to leave references and ratings, which are displayed to the public, so people on both sides of the transaction can trust the other. You can only enhance the value of your service by building and maintaining mutual trust. So, like I said, being connected to the network and privacy concerns are inseparable companions. So you have to maintain a fine balance between these two to protect user privacy while being connected. And furthermore, it's important for UX designers to integrate key attributes like system, value, and trust into service. Finally, let's talk about what we can do to create a better tomorrow with IoT. Preparing all these sumptuous foods for the royal court may appear absurd and wasteful, but there is a special meaning behind this. Ingredients supplied to the royal table came from all over the country. The food presented reflected the hard work of the people as well as their living conditions at the time. Therefore, the king was able to understand the lives of his people with the food presented without traveling all over the nation. When it comes to IoT, people usually think of smart home, autonomous vehicles, and robots that understand human interaction. These technologies, products, and businesses will change people's lives for the better, but they should be offered in the right way, to the right people, in the right place, and at the right time. Now, you are looking at the portable solar-powered theater in Ethiopia, an upcycling design project that Samsung Electronics developed with MYSC, a Mary social company. Considering the environmental and social conditions of the local communities, Samsung used solar-powered batteries along with other readily available materials to build the theater. It is now being used to entertain and educate the local people. But because it is still difficult to supply educational content, they are using OHP film in front of the lens rather than using a computer. There's a lot of information online, but the lack of internet connection makes it even more difficult for the local. But then, just like the Project Loon from Google and the open online courses from Coursera, what if we combine these two projects with IoT and UX design? We can then provide equal access to education all over the world and create truly transcending social values to our global community. And various social contribution activities have been carried out through the IoT technologies. SwissSense is a water pump monitoring sensor which was developed and implemented by Portland State University. Using various sensors and that provide objective data on system performance and GPS with standard AA batteries, it lasts for more than a year. By putting the sensor on the water pump, you can monitor the system in real time to expedite water pump maintenance. This pilot program in Rwanda, called the Self Pump, was carried out by Living Water International, Portland State University, and SwissSense INC. It's a part of Living Water's work in 23 countries, and its mission to people, its mission to provide water to the 748 million people who lack access to improved water. As 2G and 3G networks coverage reaches up to 98% in Rwanda, instead of using Wi-Fi, they installed a SIM card on the system. Working alongside the government of Rwanda, Living Water International equipped the hand pumps with nearly 200 sensors to monitor and improve maintenance response. Just like this, IoT sensor technology can play a critical role in reshaping social and physical environment. And social condition activities are needed not only for the underdeveloped countries, but also for the developed ones. Because not all the people who live in the city have equal access to the infrastructure. Last February, 16 Bluetooth low-energy ST-mode beacons were installed at Pimlico Station in London by TfL, Transport for London. And visually impaired Londoners who were involved with the project tested the assistance service. This new app called Wayfinder was developed by us2, a studio which builds digital products and game services, together with the RLSB Youth Forum, to assist visually impaired and partially sighted people at the London Underground. The beacons transmit a signal that can be picked up by smartphones, and the Wayfinder app uses these signals to locate itself and give audible directions to the user. The app is paired with the bone-conductive earphones that do not prevent wearers from hearing the sound around them. Lastly, let's take a look at the video that shows future lifestyle of what Samsung foresees.
당신이 상상하는 도시의 모습. 이제 삼성의 기술로 마주보고 앉아 이야기를 하듯 서로의 눈을 바라보며 커뮤니케이션 할 수 있도록 도와줍니다. 만약에 약속 장소로 가는 길이 초행이라면 당신의 모바일을 길 위로 비추어 보세요. 가상의 가이드라인을 통해 원하는 곳까지 쉽고 편안하게 안내받을 수 있습니다. 길을 건너야 할 텐데요. 리얼타임 TNS 트래픽 네트워크 시스템을 통해 건널목을 요청합니다. 리얼타임 TNS 트래픽 네트워크 시스템은 기존의 자동차 중심의 도로 체계에서 보행자 중심의 도로 시스템으로 생활을 변화시킵니다. 보행자는 어디서든 안심하고 길을 건널 수 있으며 교통의 흐름은 보다 원활해집니다. 시스템을 통해 기업이 소비자에게 일방적으로 보여주던 광고의 개념이 바뀝니다. 매장의 디스플레이 창은 지나가는 사람들의 성별, 연령대, 스타일, 동행인과의 관계를 분석하여 그들에게 어울리는 상품을 제안합니다. 대중교통이 더욱 발달할 미래에는 도시민들이 안락한 생활을 누릴 수 있도록 대중교통에도 보다 많은 기술을 도입할 수 있습니다. 멀리 떨어져 있는 곳에서 전송받은 초고화질 영상과 오감 데이터를 사용하여 어둡기만 했던 지하철의 모습은 이제 찾아볼 수 없습니다. 당신은 세계 곳곳을 여행하는 열차에 올라탄 듯한 즐거운 경험을 가지게 됩니다. 미래에는 문화 콘텐츠를 즐기기 위해 투자하는 시간과 노력에 대한 번거로움이 사라집니다. 여러분은 생활 속에서 쉽게 공연 문화를 즐기실 수 있습니다.
As you can see, from those examples, the future of IoT will continue to unlock new opportunities through sensor-enabled devices to extend user benefit. Smarter technologies will transform our lives for the better, but what's more important is that we need to develop a coexistence model across diverse cultural contexts and domains that can overcome any obstacle. Therefore, this year's theme, crossing, will be the most important keyword in the IoT era. Today, I use the a Korean royal table to talk about the notion of UX design in IoT era. In fact, it wasn't just the king that inspired me. I was also inspired by watching my wife, who makes every effort to prepare the perfect Korean cuisine and table setting for our family. And so I wanted to share the story with you. Yeah, I think it would be nice to talk about today's subject at the Korean restaurant tonight, if you are up for it. That's it for today. Thank you.